Now, while I let the union marinate away for a while, let's just talk about the new parts that I'm going to fit. So first, of course, it's the new condenser. It's a Nissan's condenser, which is supplies for quite a few manufacturers. And this is, if I can focus this bloody thing, and this is the part number, in case you need to use it as a reference when you want to replace it. If you want to replace it, if you actually are brave enough to replace it, because if I knew it was going to be this work, I probably would have already sent the car to the crusher. Never mind, rant over. Now we're going to, and every time you replace the condenser, you also should replace the dryer, which basically keeps the gas inside dry and good condition for the conditioning. So here is the part number. But if you want to be sure about the Jaguar part number, just go to parts, a Jaguar Parts Supply website like a British Parts or SNG Barrett, and you type X300, look for the several models, and then you will see the original Jaguar part number. And they will supply also these brands from Nissan's and also from Mal, which is a very good German parts manufacturer, which supplies actually radiators for many cars as well. It's a very good part, and this should be assembled here on the top, but we want to go to that as yet. Another very important component for these cars is of course the mounts, which they do perish like nothing. So you needed two of these for the bottom, one here and one over there, the other one is the back, and the part number for these is, let me just MNA 4250AB. So that's for the bottom of the condenser mounts. For the top ones, use a very generic Jaguar part, which is these mounts, and these are the ones that go on top. I think so, that's what the part was given to me. Okay, so here we go. I've degreased, wire brushed, removed the loose rust, and then painted in a hammerite duct to rust paint, just temporarily in order to stop rusting. I've only applied like 2 minutes ago, so that's why it looks very shiny, but at least it will give us some extra protection for the time being. Now it's the time to actually assemble the condenser and the dryer, and there are a few steps that are very important that we need to look after. Now it's time to assemble the condenser. I've already put the rubber mounts, which are in here. You just put the narrow bit down, and then we're going to start to put the dryer now. So in order to put it back in place, we have to unscrew this bracket here. And then if you notice, the dryer does have this prong here, which is to mount it in here. Let me do the other side as well. So the side with no pins goes here, and the side with the pins goes there, like so, in order to fix it in place. Now we have to connect this bit to the aircon pipe and connect this bit directly to the condenser. So just unscrew this area here, and very important, you need O-rings, and for this occasion I've bought 2 O-rings. So it goes like that. decided to put it in this end of the pipe here. Just have to keep adjusting these brackets. To be fair, it is the very first time that I do this, so it's natural that I will be making some mistakes. And as I said in the beginning of this video, this is not really a guide, this is just how I am doing this work. Okay, so I'm just leveling it with the pipe itself, and I'm not going to tighten up as yet. I'm just going to leave that to the end. And then for this side here, you just mount on the smaller holes on the bottom panel, and then you remove the old O-ring because it will already be a bit too square, and just replaced with a new one as well. I'm going to tighten these, and these have to be really tight as in order to prevent any gas leaks. Well, it has been a few days since I had the nightmare with this nut, and as you can see in here, the aluminium piece has completely gone. The effects of dipping this whole bit in a high concentration solution of caustic soda mean that the aluminium was dissolved and it disappeared, so it's now free. I've did a bit more of a cleanup, and I've put a new O-ring, so it's now good to go. On the other front, there has been some progress on the condenser. So the condenser has been attached, as you can see in here, although I struggle with this nut here. It was a little bit bigger than the 19mm, and then I just had to hold it in place here with the adjustable wrench. And now looking in here on the other side, I also had a bit of trouble with this nut here. The reason why was because when this was removed from the old condenser, the thread of the condenser itself was completely stripped, and I thought, oh my goodness, the nut looks like the thread has been stripped, which will be a complete nightmare because all this pipe here goes along this section here up to there, is no longer available in some places, and if you go on eBay, some suppliers do sell it for over £200, and I really wasn't prepared to spend over £200 on a pipe. So I've been a lot of searching. I've found the companies that also repair these pipes. I came across another thread online thread about people having problems with nuts that are usually made out of aluminium, and then they corrode. This is not focusing properly. That corrode due to the aluminium. So, and it said that when you undo an aluminium thread, the corrosion welds basically two bits of aluminium together, meaning that inside this nut you will have pieces of the old thread. So the thread inside a nut is actually not stripped. And what I did, and unfortunately I couldn't capture it on camera because I didn't have it available, and this bloody thing is a nightmare to keep focused, was using a pick tool. Inside the thread I keep scraping inside bit by bit carefully and taking my time using one of these, and I was able to remove bits of the old thread here. using a small wire brush and also a bit of a penetrating fluid and a bit of cloth to keep cleaning, and I managed to clean the thread completely, remove the old thread, and then put a new O-ring in here. I tightened this, so that's the day was basically saved, as I didn't have to buy a new aircon pipe. Now I have to do the job on this one here. Oops, not this one. Oh yes, this one here. This one here connected to the old condenser directly. So, and this one here, you could possibly see bits corroded inside, and that's basically bits of the old condenser thread still stuck on it. And I'm going to use the pick tool and then keep removing the old bits until it's nice and clean. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm removing these bits of corrosion, and you can see this bit stuck to it, and just keep cleaning on a piece of paper. And you will end up removing bits of the old thread. You see in here, these are all bits of metal. It might look that I'm actually stripping the actual thread inside, but it's not, because there's quite a lot of bits of corrosion inside of it. So basically this is what I did to the nut that actually got stuck to the, that had the bits of the condenser actually stuck to it. So as you can see in here, the thread is nice and clean. I've also just wire brush the nut as well, and now I'm going to put a new O-ring like so. And I'm going to attach it to the other end of the condenser. One thing to bear in mind is just when you work on air conditioning systems, keep the old caps on all the time, because humidity can get onto this areas and then leave the dryer exposed and a little bit useless, as a matter of fact. Make sure that the nut is straight. And then I just use an adjustable wrench to tighten it, because I think this takes a number 24, which unfortunately I don't have. And it goes very easily once you clean the thread. Okay, number 22 on this side, adjustable wrench on this side, so that you can keep the valve on upright position. Now, before I install the radiator, I have to remove the lower power steering pipe. So this one connects the reservoir on to the power steering pump. So it's just a 6mm Jubilee clip, and you just simply pull it out. And you can see in here the reason why it had to be removed. This thing is a nightmare, and you can see the marks from the clips. That would mean that this wouldn't tighten anymore, and of course the grease marks that you could see actually at the bottom, meaning that it was not longer doing its job. So always give it a good clean, because there's always some oil residue in there. And now I'm going to get a new pipe. So here is the new pipe, and this is the Jaguar part number that I will be putting in there. I think it's going, no, it's actually going that way, like that, directly on to the reservoir. As you can see in here, I gave the old Jubilee clip a very good clean. Initially I thought of replacing it, but this is actually a very good Jubilee clip, and just nothing that a very good dose of degreaser and wire brushing, it is as good as new. I guess that all those oil leaks actually helped to have it preserved. Now I'm going to attach the secondary hose, which is the one that goes from the reservoir into the radiator. I decided to install it directly onto the radiator to avoid any problems whilst fitting it, and then I can attach the other end onto the reservoir. So this pipe has the following part number, which can be seen in here. If this bloody thing can, there you go, MNA 3990 AC, because actually from the reservoir on to the top connection of the radiator to cool the oil, and then the one at the bottom, which is luckily is intact, goes on to the power steering pump. I'm going to touch this one here now. Now it's all ready to put the radiator back in place. I've put the lower mounts and also the top mounts on the radiator itself, and then before I've attached this power steering hose, I've cleaned all the threads again with a pick tool and wire brush, and then just wipe them as well to give them a nice good clean thread when I go to attach them. And attach this one in place, as it was much easier to do it there than the lower bottom, because the one at the bottom has much room to maneuver compared to the one on the top, and the same for those two as well. So now let's go and put the radiator into its place. And then you slot the radiator into place where the lower mounts are. There you go. Now it's into place, and now I'm going to attach this lower hose. And also I've done the same thing with a pick tool. I've cleaned all the threads, give them a good wire brushing as well, and make sure that I replace also the O-rings. Just keep this one in position and make sure that it stays up. And not over tighten it. otherwise it will break the seal inside and then I will be in trouble again. Now let's move on to those from the gearbox. So let's see, okay, this one goes down, I think. This one goes that way, yeah, okay, that's right. Make sure that these go straight. They have to be perfectly straight onto the pipe, otherwise you might damage the thread again, and that's the last thing I want to do. And again, not too tight, but also not finger tight. And now, so this one from the top can go back into place. Make sure that the thread goes in nice and square. Actually, this one was actually much easier to remove when I remove the nice. Now I'm going to connect the coolant temperature sensor, which is in here, and also connect the bottom hose. It is also recommendable that you replace the hoses, but I'm not going to do it right at this time. I'll leave that for another occasion. I really didn't have the time to buy the hoses, so I thought I would just do it another occasion, really. And of course do not forget to attach the top hose. I also gave the Jubilee clip a very good clean, as it's a very good one, and it come out like new. Now I just have to attach the top hose now. Okay, so all the hoses are attached. Now it is time really to attach the power steering hoses back into place. So this one goes underneath, and I've reused the clips because it's still in very good condition. I'll just give them a very good clean, and they are as good as new. Well, almost. So this one, the small one, goes bottom. Okay, now it's in place. Make sure that it's there, it's in place. Now time to fit this one. Now, before I do anything else, I have to have a look at the fans. Now, when installing the fans, you have to be careful with one thing, because they actually do slot into place into these two metal clips over there, and there's a third one in the center, and sometimes they can be a little bit of a nightmare to match. But I'm gonna try and slot them in. Now, joys of joys, they have slotted into place, and now it's time to tighten these. And of course, don't forget to reconnect the fans, otherwise you're going to be in really deep trouble. So one thing that I do advise as well is, just like before it was in the car, just to cable tie these cables to this fan shroud, top and the bottom, otherwise you don't want them to be loose and then be caught by the fan belt. Now that most jobs are finished, it's always a good opportunity to double check and make sure that you haven't missed anything, like a part missing and other bits and bobs that you forgot to put in and that you might have left behind. So of course I did cable tie the cables back onto the fan shrouds, all the hoses, make sure that they all tighten up, although there was a clip bit in here that did tie together the two bottom and the top and bottom gearbox coolant hoses, but I think I will find it somewhere, so that's no problem. It's an uncovered part, so it can be put back in at some point. All the hoses are attached, especially the mounts are in there, and I did notice earlier on that I forgot to use this rubber clamp for the top power steering fluid hose, so I've put that one back in place again. So what I'm going to do now is to put these two, although they're a bit dusty because they've been sitting there, but these two top condenser mounts onto here, which will then slot into place over there nicely, and then the top radiator mounts will then slot into here. Just push it slowly, don't dig into it. There you go. Just one more to go. Now that the top mount of the condenser is in place, it's time to put it back in, slot it like that. Now, I seem to have done this a little bit wrong, so you've put actually the top radiator mounts in here, and then you can actually slot everything into place. It's a bit of a jiggle, but it is possible to get everything nicely lined up. First the condenser mounts, and then the top mounts. I'm just going to spray a little bit of WD-40 to help slide them into place. Of course, don't forget to connect the alarm sensor onto the slam panel, and the cable is somewhere around here. There you go.
But I didn't run out of luck. What the hell of a job that was. I hope not to do it ever again. In the end, I put some new power steering fluid and then bled, and also some new antifreeze and then bled as well, and all was good. Thank goodness for that. Next step will be to recharge the aircon, but that will be the job of a garage. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.